So good morning. So today we are having a chat with Carel, and I am in South Africa and Carel is in Australia. So good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon indeed. Um, Carel, you're South African. What the hell are you doing in Australia?
Yeah, well, that's a question I probably get asked the most here in Australia. I am South African. I'm from Africa. Africa runs in my blood, but I've taken a decision for various reasons, but mainly sort of looking for a different future for my family and for my children. And we decided that it's time for us to move somewhere else. And Australia was the best of the options that we looked at. I have a sister that lives here as well. And then the other side is the business opportunity. We need to teach here in Australia. We need to build a bit of a following for Be Activated, and I'm excited to launch that plan as well.
Awesome. So timing wise, you were pretty much arrived and went straight into a lockdown.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year, I think, all over the world. So it's definitely not unique to us, but yeah, it's an interesting time to arrive in a new country. We actually arrived here in the big bushfire crisis here in Australia, just as we landed. Half the place was burning and it was smoky and murky in Melbourne. And yeah, it definitely made us think 3 times about if we've made the right decision coming here. And yeah, then went into lockdown, got through it, and Australia really handled it well on the first lockdown. And then when the restrictions eased, there was a few slip-ups and how it was managed, and just shows how quickly things can get out of control again. And we went back into a stage 4, even stricter lockdown, which we're still in at the moment for another 2 weeks. But the numbers are coming down now nicely. So I think there will be some easing in 2 weeks.
Okay, so I suppose the question that comes up for me then, because today I also want to talk about just your history of our history of learning, and how you got to be teaching level 1s for me and things like that. But you land in a new country, you've got bushfires, you've got lockdowns, you've got all of these changes going on, and already the rest of the world is freaked out. What do you do? How do you manage? And like, what were the strategies that you were kind of tapping into that helped you? Because you actually look pretty chilled. And I'm just going to say to anyone listening, so I have had conversations with Carel where he doesn't sound that chilled, and that's perfect, because we're all in those places. But today you look really chilled. You were telling me just before, you've got clients that you're seeing, because as a physio, you're allowed to see clients and things are happening. But how did you manage? What were your strategies?
Yeah, I think initially when you arrive in a new country, there's a lot to do, and a sort of checklist of important things that you have to do first. You have to find a place to stay, you have to find a car, you have to find a school for the kids, and you sort of just go through the list every couple of days or every week, something else. But yeah, we've been stressed. We've definitely, in between, we've had to sort of stop and take care of ourselves a bit more. I think I've probably activated myself this year more than I have in a very long time, probably ever. I've really regularly done work on myself and also on my family.
Nice.
And yeah, we focused on sticking together. It's only the 4 of us here. We know no one else, and we've been really sort of sticking together as a family and trying to take care of each other. I think that's been important for getting through this. And other thing is just I've tried to really just accept that we're in this situation and we have to make the best of it, to try and look for what opportunities are there in this lockdown. There's no point to it's been negative for me in the sense that, I wanted to get my business going. I wanted to start teaching, and all these things changed. And then I think one just had to take a step back and decide, okay, well, we can't do what we planned to do. We have to do, but what can we do? So here we are, Zoom meetings. We're starting some online teaching, and amongst all of it, I've managed to get my business off the ground to a reasonable degree. So yeah, I think one has to be thankful for what we have as well. There's so many people that are in real deep trouble through this lockdown. Everywhere in the world, people losing their jobs, losing their incomes. We've really tried to focus on the fact that we're actually okay. We're a bit frustrated, but other than that, we're safe, we're healthy, and we're not in financial the stress. So I'm thankful for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying is something that's really important that a lot of people I felt seem to miss. That is, you sometimes just have to take stock of what you've got, not what you haven't got, what you're not allowed to do, but what you can do and what you have got. And sometimes when you look at what you've got, you realize you're far more resilient than you thought. And once you know that, you can almost go, okay, this is pretty crap. I don't like the situation. It's frustrating, but we'll be okay. And the minute you can tell yourself that you'll be okay, your physiology does something different with it. And then exactly as you said, you start to see the opportunities that are available because they're always there. You know, and it's our conversations have changed because of that. And so people watching this have a context. Carel's been teaching the level ones in South Africa for me, and he'll tell you how that came about because it was very much through his initiative, not through mine. So Carel's been teaching level ones in South Africa for me, and then with the move to Australia, we were talking about him doing the level ones there, and we were looking at how keep tapping that in and building that, and then immediately the restrictions came in. So we've also had to find solutions and find ways and say, well, what are the ways that you can continue sharing the work, teaching the work, and also how can I do the same? And so it's the challenges that are put before us that's kind of what we do with them that define us, I suppose. Yeah. So I'd like you to share, if you wouldn't mind, your story from way back when. I know we always debate on ago it was 25 years, 7 years, 8 years, whatever it was. Tell it your way, because I'll always twist it just a little bit. But it does have to involve a door frame.
Okay, good. Door frame is included. So yeah, I attended my first level one in 2011. A friend of mine told me about this course, said it's a good course to do, and I literally didn't know what the course was about. I signed up for the course because we have to do continuous education courses, and it looked like something different. It was really my only reason why I chose it. And I went on the course. Here was Mr. Douglas Heel on the front, and very different from what I was used to. I was a young physio, not too long out of varsity, and they were showing me all these weird and wonderful techniques, and you rub behind the jaw and you rub behind the head, and boom, the guy's glutes kick in. And I've always been someone, if something looks too good to be true to me, then I tend to think it's too good to be true. I'm always been quite quick to call bullshit on things that doesn't look right for me. My bullshit monitor was really high up on that first day, thinking, I don't know if I can buy into this. I mean, it looks all good and well, but it really looks too good to be true. I had a lot of questions, and Doug wasn't too forthcoming to answer the questions that I had, or he gave me answers that wasn't necessarily what I was looking for. And I went home quite frustrated. Well, maybe take one step back. I was on the bed as a model for a few of the things in the course. That
sounds dodgy. You were on the bed as a model. Do you do this often?
Well, these things get dodgy on your courses sometimes, and
they do indeed.
Got off the bed, and everyone sort of observed me, and eventually, as we do on the courses, you ask the group, what do they see? And they said, oh, well, he walks, it's more heel-toe action, and everyone said all sorts of beautiful therapy things. And then someone said, he looks taller. And I remember thinking how odd that sounded. And you jumped in and said, oh, yeah, of course, he's taller. And then I thought, really? I mean, I could, maybe I'm walking different, maybe I'm standing more upright, but I'm not taller, Anyway, I went home that evening, and I didn't think too much of the day. And I thought, I wasn't too excited actually about going back the next day. I went to bed that night, got up in the morning. I quickly ran into my daughter's bedroom. She was 2.5 years old, to go and give her a kiss before I went off to the next day. And as I ran into the room, something struck me. And me and Doug joked, but it was almost as if something struck me from above when I fell on my back, and I literally, for a second, didn't know what the hell hit me. And then I realized I ran into the door frame, and then I hit my head right here on the door frame. And this is a room I run into every day, 20 times a day. I've got a young baby in there, so this has never happened before. Doug likes to say that I got the sense knocked into me that day, but it definitely made an impression on me. I am, in fact...
you can still see the scar.
And I had this big line over my forehead for the rest of the day on day 2, which was a big joke. And I literally had about 3 centimeters in extra length from there onwards. And many other changes in my body. And that was really where my journey began. I sat there the next day, and after a few hours, I realized I've got minimal pain in my back. And previous to this 8 years before that, I've had serious pain in my back every single day. I've had all conventional therapies, physiotherapy, Pilates classes, number of other things, and everything just gave me a bit of relief. Nothing really made a big difference. And there I sat halfway through the day after these weird techniques were done on me that I don't even believe in, and I suddenly felt about 60% less pain than I normally feel. And that really got my attention. And that's sort of where my journey started. And as I then started using some of these techniques with my clients in my clinic and my practice, I kept seeing great results, better results than I would have seen with the way I would have approached it before.
Yeah.
And even though I couldn't explain it enough, I sort of knew that I had to figure this out. I had to find a way to understand the concepts better so that I'm comfortable enough to do it with my clients. And so we went on. Eventually,
and I think you're lucky because, and we're lucky in the system because the results motivate us to keep going, even if sometimes we don't fully understand why it's working. And I think we're pretty open about that. It's like, we're watching cause and effect, and we're putting measurables before intervention and after there for a reason, because we have to have something that grounds us, gives us a reference point. Because I can give you probably 7 different reasons on every area and everything that we do on why it possibly works, but I can't say for sure. And we can choose engineering terms or fascial lines, or we can talk acupuncture meridians or neurolymphatics or this or that. And sometimes I find that I believe in that, and then the next day I actually go, no, you know what? I don't think it's that. I think it's this, and it doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, for us, does it work? Yes or no? Because your client is more interested in, whatever you did it make a difference for me? Did I come to Carel and do I feel better for it?
Yeah, it was definitely like that for me. The more I saw the results, the more I couldn't deny the fact that this stuff is working, even though it didn't make sense in my head. And I think that still helps me today with understanding how some therapists feel the first time they get exposed to this. I mean, I understand, when people feel skeptical and when people think it's too good to be true, because, I did that for a long time. And I think that helps me a little bit in my teaching as well. I try and help people to not take years as it took me to get to the point where you're actually comfortable enough to just do the work from the start. I think from my experience, I can sort of share how I got to the point and hopefully get other people to get there a little bit quicker, which is one of my big drivers for teaching.
No, but I think, I think you're spot on with that, and why it helps you in teaching, because, from when I'm teaching, I feel like I've been doing this my whole life, and it just seems so normal or so obvious. And you and Nuno and Bev and everyone keeps reminding me it might be normal for me, it might be obvious for me, but I've been doing this my whole life. And actually, someone who's seeing it for the first time, like it's kind of, here's what's happened in the last 20 years, boom, in 1 second. That's going to blow your mind. And so exactly, if you are able to take it a step back and sit and go, this is where I was at, and I too thought this was bullshit or snake oil but I'm still in it because of that. Well, there's an understanding, and I think a lot of therapists that we train, and trainers, that the things that we see happening on workshops sometimes are quite ridiculous. Kind of like you coming in with a big whack on your head. It's like, that's not in the script, but yet now it is. But it's not like we go, oh, let's look for someone whose head almost touches a door frame and go and change that. No. This is what your body did, and it's how it chose to change. And in a sense, it's one of those moments that your system has to reevaluate, because something didn't make sense the way the world was before.
Yeah, I think you have to sometimes just feel a little bit of this in your own body to really get to grips with what we're doing. And I mean, I think that's why the way we teach is important, that we make sure that everyone moves through that journey on a course where they feel it, and then it's easier to follow, because you've actually felt the change, and you haven't just heard someone tell you about it, because then it does sound too good to be true.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's also in the way we market in the world. It's we have to undersell as much as we can, because otherwise it does just sound like another rah thing, and we're not in for that. The question that comes up for me is, if someone were considering coming and doing a workshop where either you were teaching or you were facilitating the process online, what would you say would be the one thing that, if they brought up front, would help them in the learning the most?
I always say that on my workshops and courses, and I think that's probably for me the most important, that you really have to come with an open mind. Just be willing to look at what you see and accept that it might be true, that maybe what you've been doing for years, and maybe what you've been taught, isn't all correct, and even maybe what we understand in the medical world about how the body functions isn't the whole story. And not because science or the medical world is necessarily lying to us, but just because we don't understand the body. The body is complex, and there are things that we don't understand. And that was a big thing for me, is just accepting that maybe it's okay that we don't understand it all. There are things that we don't understand. The nervous system is complex. We can hardly describe it in science. So there's a lot of things that we can't explain in full scientific terms because we don't understand enough of it. And that just makes
sorry to
incredible.
interrupt you, but if you can't explain it in full scientific terms, how can you teach it? And so that, because that's one of the questions that come up, but where is all the 20 years of research? Well, you know what, your client is in pain right now, and they would like to be helped. Your client has a dysfunction. They want to perform better. They want to overcome the anxiety, stress, depression that's looming over the world right now. But, Carel, I can only let you do this in 20 years' time, when you've proven the mechanisms that you're using and validated, blah, 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 blah. And I'm being facetious, of course, because we are results driven. That's it. And we want to see results. I don't want to waste my time. You don't want to waste your time. Where just it's not, oh, how is that great? It's actually, we're here for results. We're here to help kind of move the needle for people and empower them at the same time.
And I think just seeing the results is the other important component. So you're willing to just have a look and see, maybe there's something different here than what I know, and to see the results. Keep seeing the results. For me, that was a big part of my process. Is, it doesn't make sense, but yet this guy's better. It doesn't make sense, but yet this guy's plantar fasciitis has improved after a session or two. And knowing in the back of my head how long I've worked on those conditions prior to that with minimal success. So,
and knowing that you also touch the area of pain.
Yeah, that's it.
That's also, that's the big stretch. Hang on, I didn't even touch his foot.
Yeah.
but it went
Yeah.
away. Holy crap.
Yeah.
What
And
voodoo
for
is
me,
it?
I had to see it. And and once wasn't enough. I had to see it over and over and over. I mean, if we talk about the patterns, when I started, you always used to tell me, 333 plantar fasciitis chronic patient, there's always a 333 leg. And, I always used to think, yeah, okay, probably sometimes. And I had to see it. I had to keep testing. And every time I have that chronic patient, I had to see, yep, okay, it's another 333 leg and another one and another one. Took me a long time. Maybe I learned slowly, but to get it and to trust it. I think that's where and you have to get to the point where you can trust it. So I don't need to keep testing it now every time. I can just start there from the beginning because I know this is the right route to go. And
That's
our job is to get people there sooner. That's what I feel my purpose is.
Carel, I think that's cool when you talk about trusting it. I was reading something recently which was around trust, actually, and it was quite an interesting thing. It said people get trust wrong. People think that trust is an emotion. I feel that I can trust you, but trust is a consistently showing up. So if you, every time someone comes in with plantar fasciitis, they turn out to be a 333 leg on that side, that pattern is consistently showing up. So you now can trust it because it's a pattern, because it's the showing up. So I don't think I've said it quite as eloquently as was in what I thought was in my head, but I definitely like that. It's that consistency of showing up that allows us to trust the system. It's like, we're not going, this is always, because every now and again there's something that's different, and if that wasn't, it would be boring as hell. But we do see, when it's this pain and dysfunction, then this pattern exists. And so you have to address the pattern, because if you address the pain and dysfunction, then you're just doing the same old as before, and then they're going to stay in a chronic state. Very awesome. So I think this is part one of many conversations, because as I said to Nuno yesterday, I'm enjoying this. I'm liking this. I think this is a great place to have conversation and interact. So we definitely want to delve more into your story another time, and definitely the other part is how you even got to be teaching and how hard you had to work, both long before even to get a response from me, because that's all interesting. Shows how much perseverance and drive you had to get to where you are today.